Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Thank you for joining. Today is Tuesday, October 14th, Irvine International Academy regular board meeting. We are located at 4782 Karen Ann Lane, Irvine, California 92604. Meeting called to order 5:59 p.m. We'll start with roll call. Molly?
Present.
Felipe?
Present.
Brett is present. David is absent. Moving on to the next item, approval of the agenda for the regular meeting of the Irvine International Academy Board of Directors on October 14, 2025. It's recommended the Board of Directors approve the agenda for the regular meeting of the Irvine International Academy Board of Directors on today, October 14, 2025. Is there a motion?
I'll motion so.
Thank you, Felipe. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Molly. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. Hearing none, it passes. Moving next to community input on closed session agenda items. Members of the public may comment on items listed on the closed session agenda only. Public comments, including emailed comments, should be limited to 3 minutes per comment with up to 20 minutes of public comment. Do we have any public comments?
We do not.
Thank you. Move next to closed session. Conference with real property negotiators. We have two topics. First is negotiator for IIA, Dr. Henry. Well, it's about the property 4872 Karen Ann Lane, which is the building we're in now, Irvine, California 92604. We suspect maybe 20-30 minutes.
I think 30.
30?
Yeah.
Okay. We will reconvene in about 30 minutes. Thank you very much. Okay, we are reconvening. It is 6:53 p.m. In terms of action taken during closed session, we have authorized our executive director to engage in negotiations with IUSD. And as always, we appreciate the cooperation, and we thank you, Dr. Henry, for taking on this initiative. Okay, we'll move on to the very important flag salute. I would like to lead at this time, if that's okay. If everyone would please rise. Put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. Okay, moving on to the next item, community input on agendized and non-agendized items. Public may comment on items listed on the agenda, including consent calendar, presentation, discussion, committee, and action items. Public may also comment on items not listed on the agenda that are within the legal purview of the Board of Directors. Do we have any public comments?
We do not.
Thank you. Moving on to items for consent. We've got A, approve items from the regular meeting of the IIA Board of Directors on September 23rd, and B, approve the personnel reports. Recommended the Board of Directors approve consent items A and B. Is there a motion?
I'll motion so.
Thank you, Felipe. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Molly. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. Hearing none, it passes. Items for presentation. School update. Mr. Schmitter.
Good evening, everyone. I have some updates on things that have been going on and then some things to look forward to. Up first, last Wednesday, we had our Mid-Autumn Festival, and I know a number of you were there. I would say that we actually had a great turnout, and from what we've gotten feedback from families, it was overwhelmingly positive. A lot of our families just enjoyed the time together as a community. They enjoyed the performances. And it was just a fun time just for our families and staff to come together. I want to give a huge thank you to our PTO. They spent a lot of time and hours involved in working with us on this. And there was a lot of volunteers involved from PTO and just people who just volunteered their time. They had booths. They had not one cotton candy machine this year, but 2 cotton candy machines this year for the line. A lot of jump houses for the kids. They had I don't know what to call it, but like a t-shirt on demand section where families can choose which IIA Spirit shirt design that they want, they could buy it and it would be made for them right there. From what I hear, that was very positive, very popular. They almost sold out of a lot. And I also want to give a big shout out to Mario, our campus operations manager, and his team, just to make sure that we were set up. Just things from the chairs and tables and tear up and the tear down after. They did a great job, and overall it was a big success. And I know quite a few of you were there as well. Also this year, we are, and similar in the past we've done this, but this year we're doing the Harvest Cup, and what that is, that's the soccer tournament against other Irvine and Tustin schools. Our tryouts are going to start next week, next Monday, and then it'll go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, depending on the grade level. And then that tournament's going to take place on December 3rd and December 4th. It's a great opportunity for our students to get involved in sports. They'll have a lot of help coaching, and this year we're actually adding the 3rd and 4th grade team. In years past it was always 5th grade and older, but now we have a 3rd and 4th, a 5th and 6th, and a 7th and 8th team. So we have 3 teams. We have a number of coaches that are going to be helping out. We have a parent volunteer, Cyrus's dad, who's going to be coaching. We have Coach K, and then we also have Mr. Gio and Mr. Fernandez, who are going to be coaching as well. So if we see them, give them a thank you for spending their time on that. All right, a big update I have for you is just kind of giving you some more information on our ELP update with our clubs. So our next session is officially going to begin on November 12th. It's a Wednesday because that Monday we have a staff development day, so there's no students here. Then that Tuesday is Veterans Day. We have information going out to our families this Sunday. So just informing families, these are the clubs, these are the dates that it's going to happen. It will be the date when families will start signing up. What we've done is we've kind of looked at what families have wanted. And so families want a little bit more academic support, specifically with homework clubs. So we've made a little tweaks there, so we've added some more homework clubs where students can get work done, get help on that work. And then we've removed some of our duplicate enrichment clubs, where we've had multiple sessions of the same club. And then we've added a Spanish club on Wednesdays. Now I know there's a lot of demand for Spanish, and we do have limited availability for our after-school clubs for our whole school community, because we kind of expect our ELP funded students to take up a big number of spots. And with the demand for after-school Spanish, we're actually in talks right now with Strategic Kids about adding an after-school Spanish class through them that could be available to all our families. So there will be a fee associated with that one because it's through Strategic Kids. But I know Spanish Club is something our families had wanted, and because we do have limited space in our own clubs, we wanted to provide another option for all our families as well. So all this information is going to go out this upcoming Sunday to our families. There'll be specific dates, sign-up dates on there, and it will go pretty smooth. And I've already been working with Mr. Gio, and we will be fully staffed, ready to go on November 12th. Have any questions about our ELP updates? Since I know that's a pretty big topic. It's a big topic. No? Okay.
Yeah. So not just on the ELP, but also I want to double down. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
I want to double down on Mario's help because he was a big help.
Yeah.
And it was very close to the Mid-Autumn Festival that was going on there. And yeah, he was fantastic. And the soccer tryouts, I got to buy another pair of shoes for Raymond. Okay. So it seems like every year his foot keeps getting bigger, right? And they another pair of soccer shoes for him. He's very excited about this and the team and playing together. So I think it's a great opportunity that they have to play different sports, and certainly playing other schools will be a good experience for them. And can't wait for the Spanish class. Okay, I've got a bucket list for myself, and freakishly the Spanish class at IIA is on that list.
I know, that's why I wanted to make sure that.
Thank you. I want to especially thank. I'm looking forward to that, and I can tell you for sure you got 2 students going in there. from the Delgado family. So, thank you.
All right, kind of moving ahead, this kind of upcoming events, so we do have, again, I have our soccer tryouts on there. That information actually went out to our families this past Sunday, and we'll continue to make sure it's clear on that. Then next Thursday, the 23rd, we have our next coffee with the principal. We're going to be talking about CAS scores, which I think Dr. Henry is going to be giving you a presentation on that tonight. So that will be kind of a big focus for our next coffee with the principal. And then in a couple weeks, we have our Red Ribbon Spirit Week. If you actually look at the school now, there's a lot of signage up on that. So it's something our leadership students in middle school, I think this is our leadership 6th class, 6th grade leadership. They've been planning this, they've been working hard on it. So that's something that our school will be able to participate in. And then on the 30th, we do have a parent workshop that we will be going over that as well. And then I know a big favorite is on Halloween, October 31st. We have our Halloween parade. So that's going to be starting, I think it's 9 o'clock. That's what I believe is 9 o'clock. But that information is going to get out to families this Sunday as well, if they want to be a part of that. And then we have our second school site council on November 6th. So we have a new group of parents involved in that. They're very motivated, they want to be involved and just help support our school. So we had a great first meeting, if you want to go back and watch that recording. And then again, November 12th, our next session of our ELP after school clubs will be starting on that date. And not on here too, but we do have a big training coming up for our staff, just so you're aware, and that's for thinking maps. It's going to be leading into our training for a new writing program for our staff. I think Dr. Henry's going to elaborate a little bit more on that too in a later presentation, but it's going to be something that we think will have a big impact on our students.
So for the ELP, the sign-ups for that, where is that done? Through the school website, or is there a special website? What's going on with that?
So it's going to be through Parent Square. On that we will, and Mr. Gio's already, for the first group that's qualified for it through English Learner and Free and Reduced Lunch, he is contacting those families individually. And then we will be informing families that the date and the time that they would be able to sign up for it. And so then the notice will be scheduled to go out at that time, and the families will be able to sign up that way.
And all that will be through the Parent Square?
Yeah.
Okay. It wasn't very clear to me last time,
Yeah.
but then it was the first time around.
Yeah, and that's the one thing, it was scheduled to go out that day, but we didn't specify a time. That's why this time we're going to specify, like, I don't have the time right now, but like 9 o'clock. We'll schedule to go out at that time at 9 o'clock, so everyone knows when it will go out.
Okay.
How many are on the school site council?
It's 4 parents.
4.
Normally it's 5, but we had a parent who dropped out at the last minute, so we're going to be opening it up to a 5th parent, but it's usually 5 parents, myself, and then 4 combinations of teachers and staff.
Thank you.
In the school site council, you guys meet on campus, right?
Yeah, we meet on campus, it's recorded, and their big focus is just being able to have that connection to the staff. We talked about how we use some of our title funds, we talked about our school-wide safety plan, and then later in the school year we'll also be talking about our LCAP. So it's another opportunity for our parents to speak into those things.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to CASP data. Dr. Henry.
Thank you. So it is my pleasure to be presenting our CASP data today. Our CASP data was supposed to be released tomorrow, so I wasn't sure if we would be able to present everything, but our state, they keep getting better and better at when they're releasing the data, and so everything was released last week. And so we were able to put this presentation together. We've already had data reports. We get a preview, and so we've had data reports and we're kind of ready to go when we were allowed to discuss all the data publicly. So all of this information that I'm sharing about our school, other schools, other districts is all public information. So we wanted to start with some celebrations, and our first celebration is that our science scores are still amongst the highest scores of high-performing charter schools and school districts in Orange County. So we are still, although we did see a little decline in our science scores, we are still at the top of the pack when it comes to other Orange County schools. And when we shared our comparisons, we only compared ourselves to the highest performing schools and utilized the same measures as we did last year. Another highlight is our 3rd and 7th grade students from last year. So this year that would be our 4th grade students and our 8th grade students outscored all charter schools in Orange County in both ELA and math. They did a wonderful job. Their scores are very high, which makes me very happy because especially our 7th graders, and you'll be seeing grade by grade how their scores were, but they will also be taking the science test this year. And so the fact that they scored especially really high in ELA and mathematics should translate into a pretty high science score as well, because those skills are also necessary to score high in science. Our middle school team did some chopping of the data and did some reporting on their own. And by taking, although our school is reported as 3 through 8, when they separated just the 6 through 8 scores, our middle school at IIA scores were higher than all 11 IUSD middle schools in ELA. We were number 4 in math and number 3 in science of all the middle schools in Irvine Unified. So still doing a great job there. And another celebration, and maybe also a notation that we wanted to share, is that we added almost 100 more students were tested this year than the previous year in 23-24. The exact number is 96. So very close to 100 more students that we tested. And this is also the first year that all grade levels were reported, because in order to be reported, you have to have at least 15 in a grade level. So this year we had scores for every single grade level for the first time. That's also exciting, kind of showing the growth and development of our school. Just some general things about CASP testing and how it works is the CASP test in English Language Arts and Mathematics. They're given to all students in grades 3 through 8. The science test is given to students in grades 5 and 8 only, so it's a smaller group of students that are tested. The LPAC, which is not going to be reported this evening, but just some background, is a test that we give for our English learners. We give them to all students in the spring, and then also to new students to California in the fall for identification. The CASP measures knowledge of the California academic standards, and the LPAC measures proficiency on English language development standards. And then finally, studies show that iReady, which is our formative assessment, those scores align very closely. There's a lot of research on this to CASP scores. So as we monitor and utilize our iReady scores and we're looking at our data, they do translate very, very solidly into what the CASP scores are. So it helped having iReady as an assessment, although the assessments aren't exactly the same, but the scoring is very equivalent, and so it allows us to provide individualized support for students, see standards where they may be lower, and then also through iReady, we have an individualized learning system that we pay for that's called MyPath, and really if students are taking that seriously, based on their iReady scores, MyPath is individualized for each student, helping them to concentrate on those areas where they need more help. So we really want to improve our training of that and share that with our parents. When parents are like, how can I help my child? Really utilizing the tools within the iReady system will help. So moving on, I thought it was very important for transparency and continuity to utilize some of the same visuals and schools that we're measuring ourselves against as were done last year by Dr. Kernan. And so you'll see that we did have some data that was a little bit lower, but wanted to maintain the same look and then really be transparent with all this information. So the good news on the top 4 boxes is that Irvine International Academy, we still scored higher than IUSD in all 3 tests, as well as Orange County and California as a whole. So we are still considered very high-performing school. You can see some of the dips that we had, and I'll go a little deeper into the data on the next slide. But our English language arts, we did have a small decline, but again, still higher than our surrounding district as well as Orange County as a whole. Same with math and science. But if we go to the next slide, you can see a little bit more detail, grade level by grade level, and which grade levels showed improvement and which ones had declines. So just looking at the 2025, the first box is English language arts. And you can see our 3rd graders did very well, as I highlighted in our celebrations, with 82%, which is actually an increase over last year, meeting or exceeding standards for ELA. For 4th grade and 5th grade, which are currently our 5th and 6th grade students, we did show a decline, and a pretty significant one at 26 points. Again, still high performing overall, but we are looking at that. Our 6th grade, current 7th grade standards had a small decline, and then because we didn't have 2 years of data for 7th and 8th grade, I just showed them as 1 year, but you can see at 88% for our 7th graders who are currently in 8th grade, and then our 8th graders at 73%, that still is considered high performing. Going into math, we had a little bit less of a decline at 7% overall. Our 3rd grade, again, they improved their scores. 4th grade they still had a decline, but they did better, significantly better in math than they did in ELA. And in 5th grade, they did significantly better in ELA than they did in math, with still having a decline. Our 6th graders stayed the same in math over last year, and our 7th graders had a small decline, still at 78%, and then our 8th graders who left us were at 73%. Science, we took a pretty big hit overall with 21% decline, but as I shared in the celebrations, we're still very high performing when we compare ourselves to other schools and districts. So I'm going to start with, I guess it's good news that our surrounding schools in Irvine Unified did much better in their test scores this year. So we are still up in the higher performing category with them, but not necessarily the top, and we have some reasons for that. So I wanted to keep the measurements the same, using the same, I think last year when we did a lot of marketing and we compared ourselves to those top performing schools. So if you look at these bar charts, we're still right in there with the top performing schools. If we go to the next slide, you can see the numbers that may be a little bit clearer to see. The schools that were in yellow, they did outperform us, but not by much. If you look at ELA, we were at 78%, and most of theirs were 80, 79%, 82. So it's not out of the ballpark for us to gain and be back on top. And we did outperform 4 in ELA of these highest performing schools. You can see the same for math and science. I'll give you a minute to look, and you can kind of look at schools maybe that you're interested in. But one note, we had a discussion today that I have heard that we did have a high increase. We added 100 kids, we tested 100 more students. And so we really wanted to look at our number of English learners. I've been hearing, well, we did get a big group of English learners. Well, what's the comparison? So if you look at on the left-hand side, you can see that as a whole, our school last year, we had 25% English learners. And this is the 24-25 data. Whereas our surrounding district, IUSD, is at 14%, Orange County is 18%, and California as a whole is 17%. So IIA enrolls significantly higher English learners, and yet we are still very high performing. I think that's a significant data point, and it really is kudos to our intervention. We have ELD intervention as well as MLD, and not only that, our students are not only learning English, math, and science, social studies as well, although it's not assessed here, but they're also learning another language, and that's very important to know that our students are being successful in both areas, being a dual immersion school. The good news is when I took the same exact schools and districts that were utilized last year for all of our celebrations, when we compare ourselves to the top Orange County districts and top charters, we are still coming up as very high performing. So those individual schools may have done well, those top performing schools in IUSD, but when we look at districts as a whole, as well as many of the high performing charters in Orange County, we are outperforming. You can see that there were 2 charters that were higher than us, and you can see that very clearly here. One district was higher in ELA only, but we are still outperforming or performing the equivalent, for example, in ELA to Laguna Beach Unified, which is a very high performing school district. So very proud. I think this highlights our success and where we fall within the comparable schools. You can ask a question if you have it, but I'm going to keep going.
I have a question.
Okay, yes. No questions?
I have a question.
Oh, yes, go ahead.
Do you have, and maybe this is more specific to the charter schools, any sense for how many of these schools do or do not offer homework? My understanding is there are some charter schools that maybe don't offer homework, and maybe that is in the earlier grades, I'm not sure. And so the reason I ask is because I'm curious, the correlation between homework and the results here. Now, I don't know, maybe it's all schools have homework, and maybe at the earlier grades, they don't. But
That's interesting. I do not know that answer. It would be a great data point to look at. I will tell you, it is on our radar because all school districts must implement a homework policy. I think it's within 2 years, but our plan is to meet with like our leadership team and get ahead of it. So our plan is by summertime to have our homework policy, board approved, because we don't have that. But all schools, charters included in California, will have to publish a homework policy, although that will be 1 more year.
okay.
We could also look at student handbooks if they are posted on websites for different charters
Okay.
that we're looking at, but I think that would be the only way that we could look at that data.
Yeah, I'm wondering at some point if there's a way to connect that at all to the test scores here.
Also, you know, we do have, our team participates, I know I participate in our Orange County Charter Group. It's a strong group, and these relationships, we feel comfortable asking each other those questions. So it would be something I wouldn't mind following up with other charter leaders on, can you tell me more about your homework policy or practices moving forward?
Thanks.
Interesting, yes. This is the first year, so I did not have comparison data of our CAS scores by student groups. Again, they're only published if your student groups are of a certain number. They don't publish them if you have, I think in some cases it's 15, in some it's 11. But they won't publish your data if it's that low because they don't want it to be identifiable for students. But our data was high enough, except you can see in science, our students with disabilities, I think because it only pulls 2 grade levels for science, 5th and 8th, those were not reported. But every other area was reported. So this is something that we'll want to follow longitudinally. But you can see that, I would like to see our gap with our English learners. I'd like to see them performing higher, especially in science. That was very interesting to me in one aspect. Only 8% of our English learners were proficient in science. However, not surprising because the majority of the science test is writing. And the best way to improve our science scores is to have our students write in their science classes and be able to use that scientific reasoning and academic language in their writing. So I am pleased. I've done a lot with CASP data since this test was first brought to California. So done a lot of these presentations over the years. And although we can always do better, and it is our goal as educators to make that gap between our significant student groups and our overall performance as small as possible. I do want to highlight that seeing our students with disabilities, let's look at math specifically. 67% of our students with disabilities are meeting and exceeding standards when our overall is 75. That gap is relatively small. And I pointed that out to Mr. Fernandez today, and really kudos to his team for the support that they provide our students, because anything in the 60s like that for students with disabilities is actually very impressive. So of course we'll continue to work with our groups, but I'm pretty pleased with where we are now, and we can only get better. So speaking of getting better, we wanted to be very honest and transparent with our current challenges and areas for improvement. And so here's after looking at the data, having conversations, here's what we have. Some of these things we're already doing, and some of the things will be put in place shortly. But first, I think the first and most important thing is that grades 4 and 5 had a substantial decrease in ELA, math, and then only 5th grade in science because they took the test. But it was a substantial decrease across the board. And so we have been analyzing the scores and IIA benchmarks to identify gaps and provide targeted intervention. I've had some real conversations with our middle school team, and I am very pleased at how they're addressing, filling in some of those gaps and reteaching standards that the students may have missed last year. And so that is in progress, and we have to take it very seriously. I'll also be presenting this to our staff, and I want them to see the decrease and that it really is about standards-based performance. It's about student engagement, which we've been focusing on all along since the week of welcome. Also, in the second bullet, I always want to acknowledge those gaps in performance of English learners, students with disability, and our socioeconomically disadvantaged students, and our overall performance. And again, I think I talked about that enough in the last slide. Even though I am impressed, we always want to make that gap as small as possible. And the next bullet, speaking of ELOP, which I do have a presentation on the budget of ELOP coming up, but ELOP funding is Expanded Learning Opportunity Program, and it's provided to us for EL and socioeconomically disadvantaged, so we can close that gap. So I was pleased to hear, after talking to Mr. Schmitter, that Our parents want more of the academic program for ELOP because that's what it's intended for. Again, you can have enrichment to engage students if they're not, you want them engaged in school, but really looking at how can we use that time, we have the funding, we have the time after school to help close some of those gaps as well. So really kind of looking in the mirror at our program. We want to continue to look at our math standards. I want to see standards-based instruction. We are looking at a curriculum adoption for both math and science this year. So looking at our performance is really going to play into those decisions, and looking at our iReady data to determine specific areas of focus and reteaching. All the assessments are very heavy in writing, and our math teachers last year, 5th and the middle school, all commented. I did come in at the end of testing last year when I started in mid-May, that they were surprised at how heavy the math tests were in writing and explaining the concepts, not just the formulas or math functions. And so they have already started to focus on, and we will continue to, I am seeing academic word walls in math classes, which makes my heart very happy, because there is a vocabulary to mathematics as well, and the better our students can explain using mathematical knowledge, the better they will do on these assessments and in future math classes. So we're seeing that, and I do believe the implementation of thinking maps, which will lead to a vertically aligned writing program over the next few years, will have a huge impact on our assessments. We're already high performing. That can only make us better. And having implemented that in 2 other school districts, I've seen huge results when those things. So again, that's November 10th is our big kickoff all-day training, and then we have 2 follow-up trainings to that, and the board did approve us bringing that initiative, so thank you for that. And then finally, continuing to focus on student engagement and standards-aligned instruction is really important to help with our schools. So I'm sure you might have some more questions, but I do want to thank all of our IIA staff, students, and families for the continued hard work and dedication. We are a very high-performing school. We have a lot to celebrate. We are doing a great job. I want to thank the Larry and Helen Hogue Foundation, looking at all of these things that were supported over the years. Our PTO has been so supportive of us, and we've had individual families as well for their generous support of IIA. We utilize that support to help build student engagement, academic programs, and it has a huge role in our success. And I do want to highlight, although I know the scores did go down, this is still an amazing accomplishment. We are a dual immersion Mandarin school, grades TK through 5, half the students' day is in another language, and they are learning, and we see that data. Our students and our Mandarin component of our program is getting better and better and better. So the fact that we're high performing in both areas, it really is special. And so, and we're in our 5th year, and we're experiencing tremendous growth. So we really should be proud of these results. What questions do you have for me?
So do we, for the iReady, do we take it like quarterly?
Yes.
So that you can evaluate the progress and so
So
on?
we start the school year with a baseline so that we can, right when students come in, we're utilizing the platform to help us identify small groups. So some kids may need acceleration, some may need some reteaching, and the program actually has a component that'll do that for our teachers. And then we benchmark the data. I do have a question, Mr. Schmitter, is it 3 times for elementary or 4? Because we're in trimesters, yeah, it's 3, but you have a baseline as well. So that's recommended. They also recommend 8 weeks of instruction between each time you give it. Otherwise, you're not going to see improvement. And that's the purpose of the test, is to watch the growth of the students. And then also so we can provide intervention as needed.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Questions? I just noticed here, I was looking at how you were talking about the students with disability, right? How in our school, their proficiency is really high. When I look at the numbers, the averages across, you know, they exceed California and Orange County within the ELA and the math. You know, and they're right behind IUSD in the averages, right? Which is incredible, right?
It is
You think
incredible.
about that. You know,
Yeah.
when you look at those numbers here, comparing them to this year's. And also you know, I think there is something to be said about the extra 100 students that we have taking the test, right? And the percentage of them being, you know, ELA, you know, English learners, you know, affects our scores probably a little bit more than these other schools that I'm looking at here. They are not dual immersion schools here, all these other ones that we're playing against. So even with that, we're still in the upper
Absolutely.
tier. Yeah, you know,
We are
nothing to be
high
ashamed of.
performing.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and now that and I believe we can pivot and do better, right? And I think that's going to be the advantage that we have that these other schools don't have. We'll be able to pivot.
I agree. That we have a lot of room to grow. Our students are very high performing overall. They are going to do very well. And if we give them some additional strategies and tools, I can't imagine where we can go.
And you said the format of like the math test was different this year from was last year, where there was more written.
That was the feedback that I got from a lot of our teachers and from a lot of other educators
That's
that I know from across Orange County.
Because I thought the format would maybe stay the same year through year, so they get a better gauge of, you know, the number, comparison-wise.
Mhm.
But apparently, you know, so there's a dynamic that's in there, and the testing could change, right? You know,
Yeah.
so.
Yes, absolutely. And because they did have some changes, there's some release. In March, I plan on doing a CASP 101, showing teachers the tools that are available. There are anchor papers so students can see what their writing should look like to score a certain way. There's release papers. There are release questions for math, and because of the differences in the format, my understanding is they have released more of those long answer questions, or they're more like kind of short answer questions that students can practice in the release questions. So we'll be utilizing those as well.
I'm sure we can improve. You know, the other thing I was going to ask or talk to you about is how you were talking about the homework that certain schools. So we're comparing, you know, all our numbers are here compared against these schools here. I would be surprised to see that any of these were not having homework, you know, similar to what we're doing. Because I would imagine that homework is one of the three legs of the stool, right, for learning. And I can't imagine that some of these other schools here would not be doing homework and be achieving those kind of results. I mean, I just can't see that happening. But I guess it's possible. Anyway, that's all.
Any other questions?
I have a question, but I am also very impressed with our third graders. So I want to thank the first grade, second grade, the third grade, because this is the first year, right? Third grader, that's their first year taking the CASP. So
The third graders?
Yes.
So
they
I think
did-
if I'm understanding, it's the kids that started with us,
Mhm.
right, have now rolled up to third grade, is that what you mean? And
Yes.
so they have been with us all the way through?
Mhm, mhm.
Yes, and so it really does show all of the academic program from
Yes.
TK, K, first and second,
Right.
all of that,
Mhm.
helping to prepare, and our third grade teachers as well, absolutely.
Yes, yes. first time taking a big test like this? for
Oh,
fifth
yes,
graders?
and
Yeah.
actually it is
So
their
they
first
did
time
very
taking the
well.
test too. I think utilizing iReady, it used to be, when this test first came out, like computer skills were, an obstacle for kids, but now we utilize iReady starting in kinder, I believe. And so just utilizing the test and the mouse isn't an obstacle to them, it's more about content, so that's a good thing too.
Just a few comments, it's okay. First, the school is phenomenal. Really, it's hard to even digest that only half of the day is in English and the other half, this is the elementary school, right? The other half is gonna be in Mandarin. And to have such unbelievably high-performing schools, and there's schools that specifically focus on key areas that they should do amazingly well.
Well, and most
But they're
elementaries
excelling it.
don't offer any language at all.
Yeah.
In most schools, language maybe starts in middle school. If it's not a dual immersion, they might have an elective in middle school, and then definitely you have your high school electives. So most elementary schools aren't even exposed to any language at all.
Yeah, so it's just, it's amazing, and I'd just like to recognize the staff, all the staff, and the instructional aides, the teachers, the administration, everybody who's helping to pick up, everybody who's helping to set up for these meetings, everybody at the school, you just make it work. It includes the PTO and the families, and of course, the board members, so thank you. I just had one observation, and I think, right, it isn't, maybe there's a correlation, maybe there isn't, but the fifth grade last year had a really hard time, right, because they got roped into the middle school cohort, right, and I think for a lot of families, it was pretty stressful, and a big adjustment, so unfortunately, that's the fifth grade, it's fifth and eighth that has the science,
Yeah.
right, so, there was some of that impact. I'm really curious to see how that works. So I know this year we've normalized it, so we don't have that same structure, and there were reasons why we had it, but
Yes.
I can't help but think there was some impact to the learnings there. So I think your comment about having the middle school focus or reteach some of those things that may have been missed, or
Yes,
Is it more-
and I have been meeting with them regularly, and they really are good at diving into the data. And Miss Osley is teaching sixth grade math, and we've had very real conversations about reteaching fifth grade standards that may have been missed, looking at the iReady data, and I think I'm seeing a lot of standards-based instruction and standards-based intervention happening. So, and we'll continue to have those conversations with them. So it definitely, we have to look in the mirror. We have to look at what do our students need to be successful. And my goal is to have them ready for seventh grade and high performing, and I think that's also the goal of our middle school team. They've been doing a great job, but yes.
one thing I've noticed is my daughter's in fourth grade, the math has changed big time from third grade. And I know we're looking at the math program, but my point is I'm hoping that all of the disciplines that we're looking at, all the subjects that we're looking at, that they're all aligned to teaching kids the right path towards Common Core, towards excelling well in CAS, but also just giving them the building blocks and the fundamentals, because sometimes the materials, as a father who's helping his daughter and reviewing with us homework, is sometimes there are big disconnects. And I can only think that there are a lot of opportunities to tighten that up and improve it, so it's very methodical in the curriculum, and we're building the building blocks, because sometimes this is a big question mark there.
Right, right. And some of the work that started that we're continuing is work with our scope and sequence, our pacing guides that are standards based, right? And then also looking at the curriculum, that looking to see how aligned it is with the standards, because that's what we're assessing our students on, is the California math standards. And so if our materials aren't aligned to the math standards, you know, again, we have very bright students, but we're doing them a disservice if we're assessing them and the assessments aren't aligned to the curriculum.
Agreed. 100%.
So Fred, just to let you know, usually third to fourth is the huge jump.
Yeah.
So parents always complain, what's going on? So I usually just say, well, just think about it is from lower grade to upper grade, right?
Right.
Fourth grade is kind of like upper grade. But as we were talking about, I was thinking about, you mentioned about you want to give the teacher kind of like a CAS 101 thing. I think with IIA, the way I see the parents really get involved. So
Yes.
maybe, you know, we mentioned about the writing component in math and science. So maybe we can also show the parents, because I know they want to help them, that. So you can show them, this is how we are teaching your child to answer questions. They have to describe, they have to not just getting the right answer. Even get the wrong answer, if they explain correctly, they still get some points.
They do.
So I think that's a concept a lot of parents not grow up with. So since our parents like to get involved, maybe we can have some kind of meeting, let the parents know, example.
We'll have that at a parent workshop,
Mhm,
definitely, where we will be deep diving the scores, and then what are some tools that we have here at IIA, like MyPath, but there's also a lot of public tools out there that anyone can log in and utilize. They're public. All the release questions are public. And so showing parents where to get these resources and how to use them is something that I'm very open to.
Just had one more comment, and a thank you for recognizing all these folks that you did on the thank you slide. That's fantastic. And I also want to recognize the K Foundation for its multi-year generous donations, especially supporting our STEAM program.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Yes,
Yeah, just want to make sure that they're recognized as well.
appreciate that. Okay, any other questions? Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to the executive director updates.
These will be a little shorter. They'll get, each presentation will get a little shorter each time. Okay, so these were some updates that came up at the last board meeting that were requested for this board meeting. And so I just put them under an update. I was asked if I could periodically share some of the ELOP spending and where we are, since we did approve at the last board meeting to hire an ELOP aide. I do want to thank Mr. Schmitter for helping me with some of these numbers. So if you have specific questions, I may bring him up to the podium. But I think this is pretty easy to follow. Just to share what the columns are. We have the number of staff in each category, the hours each staff is paid out of ELOP. What are they paid? What is the hourly rate? As of today, because this is an update, it's actually as of like the end of last week, how many days have they worked? So you can see we haven't hired the ELOP aide yet, so there's 0. The coordinator is here over the summer, so you can see how many days. How many total days of the work year is the next column. The first column is what was budgeted really by Dr. Kernan and the team going into this year. What was the preliminary budget that was proposed to the board? The next column is sometimes the plan and the reality are a little bit different in good ways. And you make adjustments along the way. So the 25-26 revised projections are a little different. You can see many of the areas stay the same, but as we said, we had less teachers that were interested in ELOP or could make it work with their schedules, and more IAs. So you'll see those kind of adjustments in what we're projecting for those positions. We over budgeted for supplies. Although we provide supplies if the staff needs them, they don't need as much as we had budgeted. So we're modifying that where we needed more manpower and less there. The YMCA, that cost is actually for the kids that stay 4:30 to 6. We don't have all of our staff that's staying until 6 o'clock, yet we have a lot of students who stay. So we were able to, and we have to maintain our low ratios, especially in kinder and TK are 10-1. So we've utilized and been able to send some of the students over to YMCA on our dime for that extra hour and a half. So they bill us, and so that's how much has been budgeted there. You can see how much we've spent to date. Also, we utilize YMCA for our TK. So the TK students who are qualified, who are either late birds or early birds, we pay for the remainder of their day in YMCA if they qualify out of ELOP funds. So that's what that line item is. And then also benefits for the staff that come out of ELOP. So that is a little bit of kind of where we thought we'd be, where are we to date. The ELOP projections on the top of how much money that we thought we'd get has come out a little bit lower. So we originally budgeted, the projected amount we thought we'd get was close to $240,000. We also do collect rent from YMCA for use of our portable, and so that total was $247,000. Our actual ELOP allocations as of today are a little bit lower. We came out about $10,000 lower than we thought we were going to get. I will say though, after the fact, or halfway through the year, often there are positive adjustments made to ELOP. They're always like, we're gonna give you more money, because school districts everywhere are, ELOP is almost running another school after school hours. We have 350 students here, and a lot of school districts, it's very challenging with the limited funding that you're given to really put that infrastructure in place. So there could be adjustments, but that's where we are right now. So we came out at $236,000, a little over $236,000. So the bottom line for ELOP, where we are, where we think we'll be, I do want to remind you that ELOP is not just about the after-school program, it's also about the summer program. And the fiscal year, and we did spend about $60,000, or I'm sorry, $54,000 for last summer. And just as good practice, I always like to estimate a 10% increase. We have more kids, things cost more. Just so we're budgeting approximately $60,000 for the summer of 2026. And then noting that the new fiscal year is July 1, our summer program is half paid out of the previous year, half paid out of the new year, or not half, it's actually 41% from the previous year, and then 59% out of the following year. So the bottom line here is that we were allocated $229,000, our rent is $7,200, so you have our total revenue. When we look at all the spending from the previous page, you can see that our projected after-school expenditures are $175,601. If you look at what we paid, can someone help me with the screen? I have it here though. What we paid for the summer program after July 2025, because that came out of this year's budget, and then also knowing that next summer we'll pay through June summer. So we did those kind of mathematical calculations, as well as all the total expenditures on the previous page for staffing and everything, we are going to end up with a balance of $4,000. So we are spending the money, and we will be monitoring this month to month. We are on track to still be positive. Again, there could be additional funding coming, but we'll continue to monitor it. So that's your ELOP update on spending that was requested at the last board meeting. Yes.
But this is a 4,000, it's roughly break even. It's 4,000.
We're breaking even. Yeah.
Compared to what? When we had outsourced it to Strategic Kids, it was a loss, is that right?
Yeah.
Do you know roughly what that was?
I don't off the top of my head. My understanding was that we just gave all of our funding to Strategic Kids.
Yeah.
And then there were some extras that we would have to provide.
Yeah, I don't think there was enough. If I
Yes.
remember, so we ended up paying more than what we got.
Yes.
You know, so that would be a good comparison to have here, right? Say, you know, because someone said, why bother, you're breaking even, right? Is it just easier to outsource it? So I'd be curious, you know, what we did, what we were doing for the prior couple of years, you know, we were out 150,000 or we were out 100,000 versus now
We're
breaking
utilizing
even.
the funding, yes.
Yeah, and we're able to save.
And that's one of the reasons why we're bringing it in-house. Also, our previous program did not meet all the requirements that were necessary for the ELOP program. One example is we didn't have before school care. And that is required, that we offer this 9-hour school day. And so we were giving all of our ELOP funding, yet not meeting every aspect of the ELOP requirements. And so also licensed childcare is really important, that that we have the licensed component, which is the YMCA. So we have strategically layered the program. We still have Strategic Kids doing enrichment. We have so we have our foundational program, which is the after-school clubs, ELOP in-house. We partner with YMCA, especially with those TKers, because they need a place to go. And we have our regular school day happening and don't have those extra resources. And so we kind of contract out with them. And then we have the YMCA that helps us fill in gaps, also provides that licensed childcare for our families if they're interested. And then we bring in Strategic Kids with the enrichment, the chess club, the Lego club, the clay art club, and now we contacted them today to really look into helping with the Spanish club as well. So we heard back, they're looking at their resources, and then both Mr. Schmitter and I will meet with them and see what we can put together there.
You know, I think the other advantage is, like you said, because we have before we were just handing them all the money and they're doing everything, but by having it more layered like we do now, if there's an issue in one of these layers, we're more in control and be able to adjust. Whereas before, all we did was complain and hope that it got better, right? You know, so this way, you know, I think we're more in charge of each component as it goes through. And I believe we have the same, or almost the same, if not a little bit more, amount of students in the program overall. So what we had in Strategic Kids, I think, was 330. I don't remember what it was, but it's the same. It's like the same now, right? We're very close.
I think we had 130 Strategic Kids.
I can't remember what it was, but we're in there.
We're a lot bigger now.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are we are a lot bigger, and October 1 is P1 for data, and when all of our data is cleaned up and our students are identified for additional English learners, the free and reduced lunch program applications. So even since we started in August, our numbers of LCFF unduplicated students that we would offer this program to has gone up. So that's why we're having strategic conversations, because in our first session, which is going on right now, there weren't enough spaces for all of our families that wanted to participate. There's going to be even less. And I want to make that very clear, because more students, unduplicated students, have been, and already because of all these layered programs, how many classrooms do we use? I know it's 13 just for our in-house, and now we have
On average, about 60.
it's about 16 of our classrooms starting after school that are used. Teachers can't be in their classrooms after school. They generally will group up into one of the few empty ones and collaborate and do grading and their other work. Our whole school, like there's not a lot more that we can grow unless we're going to get more funding. And as you saw, even just taking care of the students that we have to, we're breaking even at $4,000.
So we're taking care of more students than we were with strategic kids. Because you're saying we
I
only had
didn't get
100
those
and-
numbers.
100 and something, right?
Yeah, I have to double check, but I believe with strategic kids last year, they had about 130 kids.
And now we're
We're at 350 if you look
Okay.
at all the programs.
But we're using the same amount of money that we were paying them before.
In theory, yeah. Well, so the amount of money that we're
Close enough.
spending, it's about 220 of the students for funding.
Yeah. So what I'm getting at is we're using the money more efficiently
Yes.
than we were before by just.
And it's also benefiting our staff that want those opportunities to make extra money in enrichment after school. And yeah, and also kind of grow our own. You know, we were able to hire a coordinator that is paid 50% out of ELOP, 50% out of ours. It is one more person on our admin team that helps to support our school with ELOP and other ways as well.
Well, I think it's a big talking point that I think probably a lot of parents don't see, is that we are using the money more efficiently and we're covering more students.
Yes.
Right, than we were before, when it was easy before just to hand them a big check and we didn't have to do anything, right?
And, yes, and
So
we're
it was
following the requirements
And the
that
requirements,
we
we're
need
covering
to
the
do to
requirements.
get the money. So we need to make sure we're following those,
Yeah,
yes.
and I like the fact that because it's layered, you can focus on wherever the certain issues are to fix them. So,
Absolutely.
I think administratively, it's just a smarter way to go, all the way around.
I agree.
So if we could maybe benchmark cost comparison last year versus this year, and it'd be very helpful to paint the picture of, was this a good decision? It sounds like we're serving a lot more families, so yes, thumbs up, right? But in terms of what it cost us in order to do that.
I think we can definitely try. If the money wasn't earmarked for ELOP, it may be hard to identify what extra money we paid for ELOP because it didn't come out of there. It had to come out of our own budget. But I can try to get a ballpark of, so it may not be exact because some of the encroachment into our like general fund may not have been, for lack of a better word, like tagged as such. And so it'll be hard to get an exact number, I would imagine, but we can see what we can find out. We can do some digging.
Is it, the flow of the funds would have been, we would have received the.
I can look at what
money and
we
then
gave
would
to-
have transferred
yeah.
that to strategic kids, right?
Yes.
So we-
I also think though, I know, yeah, that we probably also had to utilize some of our staffing sometimes to fill in gaps. I remember that when I first came here, that there was that we had to have, 2 of our staff members had to stay after school to meet the ELP requirements because strategic kids said the kid was talking back. And I'm like, well, if a student is experiencing homelessness, we cannot not offer them services because they talk back. We have to, the law requires we get this funding, we have to offer the services. And so we were doing that internally, like this isn't an option
Yeah.
for us to deny children, you know, based on that. So anyway, there's just some examples, but we can look at that for our next ELOP. My plan is maybe every other board meeting to give you a spending update on ELOP. It sounded like regular updates from the last meeting that was the interest. But I'll move on to, I have 2 other updates. These are even briefer. So I was asked about the GATE program and what we were doing with the GATE program. So wanted to share, we actually have our GATE team planning meeting tomorrow is scheduled during the Wednesday time. But the current plan is, and this is a first year plan, we want to put something substantial in place, but it can grow and get better from there. So we wanted to look at communication, how is GATE addressed in the classroom, and then also enrichment components. So we currently have 15 4th and 5th grade students identified as GATE. Our website page is in development. We've already written it up. We're just putting it in. We wanted to wait until our planning meeting tomorrow to make sure everybody on the team is on board. We will be utilizing the NNAT assessment this year. Just so you know, there are 2 main GATE assessments. One is called the OLSAT. We gave that last year. This year, we're going to give the NNAT because it's more nonverbal looking at gifted students. So we'll have a chance to capture, it's less linguistic. It's your English learners, your students with disabilities who may be dual identified. So we want to go every other year with the OLSAT and the NNAT, so we capture all of our kids that may be identified as GATE. It's a best practice. Also, if a parent requests, can you retest my child? If you're giving the same test every year, a certain amount of time needs to pass. But if alternating the tests like this, we would be able to provide a family a test of the alternate assessment the following year. One of my goals is to look at differentiation PD for teachers. So if I have a GATE 4th or 5th grade student, how am I differentiating to meet their needs, to accelerate for them? So that is on the radar, but also I'm a strong believer in providing all our teachers with GATE strategies across the board. They are just good teaching strategies. I've done it in the past. It's a goal here, really using those depth and complexity thinking icons. I'm sure you know what those are, Molly, but really doing some GATE instructional strategy. I think it would work very well here. And a lot of those strategies will work well in Mandarin classes as well as English classes. And so that is also our current plan and development. We're going to be providing a monthly newsletter that goes out to the families about key strategies to support their gifted children. And then also looking for enrichment activities throughout Orange County that they can bring their children to, free activities, theater, music, things like that. In a monthly newsletter with enrichment, current events, those kind of things. And then finally, we want at least one tangible after-school program. I'm hoping quarterly, could be monthly. That's what we're meeting about tomorrow. We want to utilize the Z computers, the augmented reality, as part of our offering for our gifted students. We're utilizing them in science class as well, but I think it would be great to bring them out for an after-school activity for our gifted students. And then also, there's a Rube Goldberg contest that works really well. So if you remember the old mousetrap for the old cartoons where you put a marble in and it does this, and the end result, it puts toothpaste on a toothbrush after the book's knocked down and everything else. There is a contest, the contest is in Long Beach. Other schools in this area, that it's part of their GATE program. I contacted them to get the information and they said, we would love if your kids participate. There's not enough schools. The competition isn't very deep. I'm like, well, our kids can win. So anyway, we're looking at bringing that competition learning, and it's something tangible that our kids can do. Future priorities for GATE are that we implement, again, like I said, those GATE strategies, instructional strategies should be implemented school-wide. We want parent engagement activities for our parents with gifted students. I'd like to have like an information night. And then possibly in the future, a field trip for our gifted students. So that'll be in the future. That on the left is what we're planning now. And then finally, I was also asked to give an update about competition learning. And I know by having conversations with our teachers. I knew a lot was happening, so this opportunity to present to you actually was an opportunity for me to put it all in one place and make sure I really understood it. So we do have a spelling bee scheduled for November 12th, and although it's for all of our grade levels, I'm not sure the youngest grade level, but the 6th through 8th graders have the opportunity to compete at Orange County level, those winners. But we do an in-house competition for the lower grades as well. We are adding History Day this year, which is through OCDE. It is scheduled for November 20th. It will be for our middle school students. We will utilize the county submission criteria, and our students will participate. So I'm learning more about this as well, but I know it's a very kind of well-known and acknowledged event through OCDE. We will have our science fair again. It's scheduled for January 23rd. Ms. Zhang puts on our Mandarin Masters, so we're planning to have that. It's a Mandarin vocabulary contest, which will be in spring of 2026. Math Kangaroo is happening right now. It's a 6-week program. It's another layer of something our kids can do after school, and they do have the competition with the after school program. Our Strategic Kids layer of ELOP also it's a competition that they run for the kids that are in the chess club. And then, as I said, that Rube Goldberg contest we're looking at for our gifted students. So those are my updates on the requested items. Do you have any question for me? And I've got one really short, kind of one slide required presentation that I have to do.
Since we're talking about competition, I know there's another one, it's called Geography Bee.
Okay.
That one is really interesting. I use it for many, many years. So it's just to encourage students to get to know the geography.
I love that. We can look at that. There was one this year as well. Nothing's come out yet, but I would be very interested. It was an online, it came out last year. They had the contest at the Richard Nixon Library, and it was like a history bee, almost, like a civic learning bee. And so they asked students questions about historical facts and things like that. It was for middle school, and it almost like a little decathlon, you know, the kids, they participated. So I haven't seen information on that yet, but again, I think it fits well with our student population to bring these competition learning, and it just gives us more to celebrate when they do well, right?
Yes.
So, any other comments or questions? Okay.
So moving on to the information item, teacher assignment monitoring and outcome data, is that right?
Pardon? Yes.
Yeah.
So this is our final update. This is a required update. And then you'll see we also have an information item on the board that we're just going to read into the record. But here's your brief presentation. So this is called TAMO. It's the Teacher Assignment and Monitoring Outcome Data. It really is data that's going to be added to the dashboard for the first time about, so for every school in California, how many of your teachers are within assignment and how many are outside of assignment. It's never been part of the dashboard, so that is why I have to present this to the board, because anything that goes into our dashboard must be an information item at a board meeting. So again, this item, it's notification of an addendum to our dashboard, the local indicators, which is going to be about teaching assignments and monitoring outcomes. We presented, as we were required to do, and so did all other schools in California. Our local indicators were presented on June 10th. The 23-24, you can see they're going back 2 school years. Data was not released until this September, after the local indicators were required to be presented. So state law requires that we present this new information, and it will be posted on our 2025 California dashboard once it's released. It will probably be released in November. So this data just informs the board, administration, and other stakeholders of our properly credentialed teachers within IIA. Here is the data, which will be the end of the presentation. So for 23-24, again, it goes back 2 years. at IIA, our total full-time teaching staff was 22. And for our clear teachers, and then we had a lot of interns that year, or 2 interns, which is a pretty high percentage. We were at 95.5% properly credentialed. And we presented that in the local indicators. You can see Orange County was at 89% and statewide in California 84.7. So I was pleasantly surprised looking back 2 years. I was familiar with our 24-25 data because I was the one that presented that at the June 10th board meeting, but I had not looked back 2 years. So it was better than I imagined. We had 19 clear teachers of the 22. We had 2 interns and then 1 teacher out of assignment 2 years ago. So that will, again, the percentage is still 95.5%. It's higher than the county and state average. And just FYI, that will be added to our dashboard.
What is clear?
Pardon?
What is clear?
Meaning that they were credentialed properly for their position.
And out of assignment? What is out of assignment?
That is someone that it could have been that they didn't have their BCLAD authorization. It could have been that they had a temporary credential and weren't fully credentialed. We always get the dawn that you, so we do it within permission. It's just we want that number to be low. As I presented on June 10th, we did have 2 teachers last year that started the school year out of assignment, meaning they didn't have their full credentials yet. By the end of the year, all of those issues were remedied, and this year we're 100% compliant. We don't have anyone working out of class, even though we do have a few that are working on additional credentials. Everyone is scheduled where they need to be. Okay, that is the end of my presentation.
Thank you very much. Okay, we have the next item, task scores, but I think we already covered that.
Yes,
So
yes,
we'll
it was listed on there twice.
moving on to the financial update, Mr. Miller, are you there?
We do. I am here. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Thank you for your patience.
Oh, no worries at all. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here, and we can get this party started. Okay. Can everyone see this okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so this is my first presentation with everyone. So this one is always great for me to get feedback from you guys. Every board that I work with is a little different. I always like to start and err on the side of, hey, I'm going to give you a little more information than you probably need, and if it's too much information, just let me know and I can tailor the bullet points down a little bit. I can expand them as well. Just and really any feedback after this, you can deliver it to Dr. Henry, and I can take it in for the next one. So we'll go ahead and get started here. This is your September financials. To cut straight to the chase, nothing really stuck out to me, but we're going to kind of go over the important stuff anyways. The first slide here I really like. It's a really good representation so you guys can see. And because it's our first time, I'll send this too. The way that CSMC does these financials, I know in the past you guys had compared like current September actuals to last year's September actuals. What we do at CSMC is we compare the September actuals to what our September budgeted numbers were supposed to be. So for us, we're always comparing, hey, how did we budget, which is kind of these lighter bars here, and where did we actually come in at, and why? And I think it's especially good for you guys to do it this way because you're increasing by so many kids. The numbers are just going to look a little too different from last year, so we're going to kind of stick with this actual to budget analysis. So the first thing you're going to notice is kind of in the revenue side of things, you got your actuals are greater than your budget, and the same for your revenues, or for your expenses. So looking at the revenues, your LCFF was 275 over collectively, and this is primarily due to a 407K ILPT accrual check in July. Now, this is really normal. It happens a lot with a lot of the charters that we have. Usually, if you just receive money a little late, it gets accrued into July. And that's really what's creating that overage there, and that's a big reason why we're over budget there. But I will say, without this LCFF, we would have come, without this, 407, we would have been under budget, which is what I expected to see, because we're expecting you guys to be under budget until February, when P1 will kick in. I know Dr. Henry talked about that in her presentation. So when February rolls around, we'll get paid based upon P1 student data, because right now you guys are getting paid based upon P2 student data of last year, which is a significantly lower student count than you currently have. So, as these months move forward, I expect LCFF revenue and revenue in general to be a little under what we are projecting until P1 really kicks in. So the other category, which is great to see, is local revenues already over by 74K, or 47K, excuse me. Primarily in field trips, in 15K, and then foundation and grants for the other place where you guys have seen some money roll in, which is great to see. And then this is slightly offset by federal revenues. So some of these we always, these revenues are reimbursement based. So like child nutrition, you only get when you submit the report. Same with the CMDC reporting for Title I dollars that we're going to do later this month. So that's really to be expected. On the expense side of things, things are looking pretty good overall as well. Personnel expenses were 47K over budget. This kind of discrepancy is really normal in August and September, and for the size of your guys' payroll, I'd say it's a pretty big home run. We're going to keep an eye on it, but it looks good so far. Total books and supplies were 96K over budget, which really, on an initial look, it's like, oh, well, why was that so far, over our current budget? And the answer is it's really not. So when I pull these numbers, these are month to month. If you look at things as a whole, your total curriculum and books and other reference materials expenses totaled to 215K so far, and the total we budgeted was 293K. And the nice thing is that most schools don't spend a lot in curriculum and books later in the year. So the fact that we're 70 plus K here, within budget is really nice. So, and then total services came in right on target, just around 8K below projections. So total net income is 279,000. Any kind of questions or comments on the actual budget piece?
One second, Mr. Miller. Just to comment on the PDFs that we're looking at here. Is it hard to read? So I'm not sure, did you, the CSMC presentation, did you convert it to PDF?
This presentation here,
Yeah.
Brett, so this presentation, so typically what I do is I send schools the financials in a very unfun format, which looks like this. Is this what you're looking at, Brett?
Well, it looks like it's maybe a PowerPoint. I'm looking at the...
Yeah, this one, sorry, very loud. This one is a Google Doc that I was sent, but we can convert them in PDF if that makes it easier. I usually do our presentations in PDF, but this one came in a little bit later.
No, it's fine, it's just that it's illegible. I can't, if you zoom in, I can't see any of the detail, it's very hard to read, so I'm not sure if anyone was looking at it.
So Brett, for this presentation, typically what I do is I send schools, this, and then what I do is I go ahead and present this much nicer looking presentation. And Dr. Henry actually asked for it a little bit before the meeting today. So it was just kind of a miscommunication. This had already been done ahead of time, but in the future, I'll go ahead and send this to Dr. Henry, a few days before, so she has time to, turn it into PDF. So
I just made a PDF, so I can put that in the board folder right now.
The file format doesn't matter to me. I couldn't read the file format that got put in the Google folder. I've downloaded the file now. I can see the detail. But anyone who's trying to see it in the folder, maybe it's just the display. I'm not sure, but I don't know. I didn't know if you guys were having an issue.
It's kind of light.
Okay, I've downloaded the file now. It's very clear, but before I couldn't see what's going on. All right, sorry. Do you guys have any comments? No? Okay, please continue.
Okay. So on the balance sheet portion, again, the big concern here is cash. You guys do have just about $1 million in cash as of September. Again, we're really keeping our eye on this as, student counts have grown and our expenses have grown. So we're just making sure we're keeping a really good eye on this as we move forward. No real updates to provide as of this meeting. But that's just one thing I wanted to discuss. This is a very, this is kind of what you're, in this column we have your actuals, in this column we have your budget, and in this column we have the variance between the two. It's, pretty straightforward. I went ahead and covered all the kind of important stuff that stuck out to me a second ago in that presentation. Right here in the LCFF revenue, we have that overage. We have the overage in local revenue. We have the, 47K, just about overage in personnel expenses, which is still very, very close. And yeah, so I think on that front we're looking good. Here's a fun little, graph we have. These are just all ratios, taking a look at your cash. Again, it just indicates that, cash is tighter around here and here. We're closer to these more conservative targets we have, outlined, but I know the board and Dr. Henry were all aware of that, and we're keeping, a close eye on cash as we move forward. Here's your guys' balance sheet. Nothing to really write home about here. It's going to be really the same as in prior months. You guys have your loans here and other short-term liabilities. I know it's a bit of a bizarre place for it, but that's just how it lives in our accounting books. We have your current cash, we have your accounts receivables. Yeah, you guys don't have any real assets to speak of, obviously, so things overall look good. Here's a quick slide back from when I had a little more hair, so to get that updated pretty soon here. And then we have a quick list of items that are upcoming compliance related. We have the federal cash management expenditure report. That'll be done by CSMC. No board approval on that one. Due 10/30 we're working on. We're also working on a report for federal mental health. We're getting that from what was previously reported from Delano. Other big deadlines really are going to be, fall in this kind of December, November category. But yeah, everything's kind of on track so far. Any questions?
So we're still not in any position right now to make an additional draw, right? We don't see any concerns to make any additional pulls on the line of credit.
We're still keeping a close eye on it, Brett. Not immediately. We had a current cash report just go out. I believe it was Monday morning. Things look good and things look healthy. We're paying AP. It's not like we're holding any kind of age payables. Things are looking healthy so far, but we're continuing to keep a very close eye on it.
I actually received another cash flow document this morning, so it's pretty much every week. And then I look at the AP aging, which is the bills that need to be paid, when are they due? So I watch, and then I can say, let's pay these aren't due for another month, really watching the cash flow. We are in a pretty good place, but again, Mr. Miller and I we're looking at the long term to get us to February. So every month that we looked at the cash flow through the end of November, and it looked pretty good, and to me that means 3 more months to go, right? And so we are very much monitoring. We also talked about how important that runway was going to be. When we see it coming, we need to be able to give everyone a heads up and to make sure we're making the right decisions. One of the things that Nick had said is that we wanted to wait until these September financials were done, because we know that the August financials aren't true to our real financials, because we're only half the school year. So looking and now having a real month of real things, now we can better project out, so we're closer to being able to kind of get that final information. But I also found, I was telling Nick as well, I found I guess the cash flow balance that Dr. Kernan and Delano had created each month to make it through.
Yeah.
And we're actually ahead of, we have more balance, which is nice, than they had projected, and they showed how we could make it through. And so I'm watching their projections as well as the cash flow very carefully. Again, I don't, we know we want to try not to. We will still be okay with our ending balance if we have to, but it is my goal, and we're doing a lot of work to make sure that we're in good shape.
Are we in arrears with any invoices?
No, at this, so I've approved and released all the invoices. There weren't many left this morning, but each time I do look at the due dates and make sure that we're in good shape. And the only thing I've held back was actually in the beginning, and it was because we were putting things in the system that weren't due for another month and a half.
Yeah.
So I was kind of watching it as I was getting a handle on where we were. I feel better now, and the cash flow reports that their team has done has been very helpful.
Well, it sounds like we had some excess revenue that came in. Just
Yes, yes.
questions, comments? Nope. Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Miller.
Okay, thank you everyone, have a nice night.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, moving on, items for discussion of possible action. The first item here is an information item related to the notification of addendum to dashboard local indicators, teaching assignment monitoring outcomes data, TAMO. State law requires districts to make available as part of their local indicators for the annual dashboard information about teacher assignment monitoring outcomes as part of Priority 1 basic conditions. This information was provided by the state after the local indicators were presented to the board in June. TAMO were officially released annually but reflect the data that is almost 2 years old at the time of release. LCAP goal action not applicable, funding source not applicable, budget financial impact not applicable. No recommendation, it's an information item. Anything else to comment on this?
No, just that this is a required item. We didn't do anything wrong. The guidance for this language is even from the state of California. All districts are having to have this as an information item.
Thank you. Moving on to B, approved contract for Southern California sensory screening. California requires vision and hearing screenings for all students at several grade levels. Screenings must be performed by a credentialed nurse or authorized personnel. IIA would like to contract with Southern California Sensory Screening and Mobile Screening Service to screen all IIA students for mandated vision, color blindness, hearing screenings. They were able to screen over 600 students in one day and complete all follow-up reporting. Cost is $2.35 a student per test. LCAP goal, action goal 2, action 6, funding source,
That would be LCFF.
budget financial impact not to exceed $3,000, not currently reflected in the budget. It's recommended the board of directors approve action item B. Any further comments?
Yes, so happy with this company. I've utilized them before. We don't have nursing staff on staff, so they, not only do they conduct the screening, they will bring like a mobile unit out into the parking lot. Our staff will bring our students out. It's very efficient. We will probably do it over 2 days, which we're negotiating those dates with them. They'll be in the spring, that's all we know so far. But they also help us with the reporting that's necessary as well, because not only is it the screening, but then it's sharing with families. So, and they came out at well under budget, actually half of what I had initially thought it was going to be, at $3,000 to test and make our school compliant for all students. So
Do you do it class by class? What's the?
yes, so when we look at the 2 days, it will be certain grade levels will be done first. For example, first grade boys have to have an additional colorblind screening, so we'll make a schedule class by class and bring them out, and, monitored with our staff, and that'll be our component. Then they'll go through the screenings. We will send out a notice to families, and there is the option to opt out if a family is interested. So we will go through all the required steps by the state of California, and then once the data is collected, it'll also be uploaded into Aries, so that it all stays in our student information system as well.
We've never done this before, right? This will be the first time.
As far as I can tell, yes.
I believe so, because I don't recall ever having to do.
So that is why we're going to be testing all our students in the future. It would be even half of this cost because we would only do the required grades. But students, it's every other year, even in through high school, that is the required vision and hearing screening. And so we want to make sure that all students have a record, and that if anyone was missed, that we are able to serve any student who needs them regardless of grade level this first year, and then we'll stay on the required grade levels in the future.
I didn't know it was for the whole school.
Just this time.
Fifth grade or?
It is, so it's TKK upon their first entry, and then, I want to make sure I say this right. First grade, I believe, is the color blindness, and then it's like every other year. I think it's third, fifth, eighth, or third, seventh, and then high school. This time, because we did not do this last year, we're doing all grades to make sure that we're compliant.
That's great.
Are the younger grades, kids, are they escorted? And then
All students will be escorted with our staff. Oh, yeah,
someone will wait
yes.
and then make sure they get back.
They'll bring the entire class, so they will have all adults. Not only will, like, our staff, I would assume Mr. Fernandez, because students would be overseeing, but also each of our classrooms has an aide and a teacher, and they will go with the class while this is happening, absolutely.
So is there, I guess I'm wondering, is there much, how long does the class take to process?
I'm not sure, but I do know just from using them before, it's very quick. They're very efficient, and the tests aren't overly complicated, I guess. They're pretty simple tests. They do this. I've had a lot of success with their team and great results, because it is very difficult if you don't have a full nursing staff. for schools to do this kind of testing by themselves.
So one, I mean, rather than have the whole class waiting out there, I'm just wondering how you not disrupt the class, right? The teacher, and the teacher's trying to do.
Well, they'll have to schedule ahead of time,
Yeah.
and they will walk their class out. The students, we're also trying to find out how many, I think they need this to be approved, and the contract's in there, but we still have some of the like dates to work out,
Yeah.
some of the technical things, which grade levels on which date, and then how many people their team will need in order to accommodate and test all of our students efficiently, excuse me.
Yeah.
So, yes, so those are still being worked out.
Okay. All right, is there a motion for this item?
Motion.
Thank you, Molly. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Felipe. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. Hearing none, it passes. Approve the appointment of the Finance and Audit Advisory Committee members. The Finance and Audit Committee shall assist the Board of Directors in fulfilling its oversight responsibilities related to income, expenses, budgeting, and audit consistent with the board's long-term goals and the charter petition. LCAP goal action not applicable, funding source not applicable, budget financial impact not applicable, board policy requirement mandated for all public schools. Nominations recommended the Board of Directors approve the appointment of the following directors to the Finance and Audit Advisory Committee. So currently, Mr. Delgado and Mr. Sun runs.
Yes.
Is that right? So we need to have nominations and then we'll vote to approve.
And if I can add, one of the reasons for the timing of now is I looked through our bylaws and our governance handbook, and although committees are covered in both documents, there isn't a timeline of membership into the committee, so it would be good to revisit this. Also, the reason for getting the committees back together now is that it was recommended by our auditing firm, Christie White, that we have a finance and audit meeting in early December to review the audit results that we're finishing up now. And so that they are able, that our two committee members, because the committee is called the Finance and Audit Committee, we will have a meeting to hear the results of our audit.
Are you opposed to being on this committee?
No.
How do you feel?
No, I'm fine with that. I think, actually, right now we have to nominate people, right? So I nominate David Sun.
I second that.
All in favor?
So we have.
Well, let's get our second nomination.
Oh,
but,
I got to do both at the same time?
I'd like to nominate Mr. Delgado, if he's okay to do it. I don't know.
Absolutely.
If there's a second. Is there a
No,
second?
absolutely.
I'll second.
All right.
I don't think I can second myself.
Okay, so we've got David and Felipe.
Looking forward to it.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to nominate Mr. Sun and Mr. Delgado to the Finance and Audit Committee. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Molly. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. Hearing none. So
I think I have to abstain.
You have to,
Yeah, I abstain, so I have to abstain.
it passes. But thank you very much. We really appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, moving next to approve the appointment of the Governance Advisory Committee members. Governance Committee is responsible for maintaining proper board composition, ensuring that the board governs effectively. This committee drives a comprehensive board self-assessment process, fosters the development of new and existing board members, and manages board member recruitment. LCAP goal action not applicable, funding source not applicable, budget financial impact not applicable, board policy requirement highly recommended. Board policy nominations recommended the board of directors approve the appointment of the following directors to the Governance Advisory Committee. Molly, do you have any objection to continuing on the Governance Committee? Okay. I also have no objection in continuing, if it's okay with board, but
Yes.
throw that out there. Okay,
So I will nominate Brett for the governance committee and Molly.
thank you. Okay, so we have Molly and Brett. Is there, maybe, I wonder how we have here because, so why don't we do it this way? We'll do one at a time. We'll do one at a time.
Oh, there you go.
So,
I will nominate Brett to the governance committee.
okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
I'm gonna recuse. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. Okay, so Brett
Got it.
passes. I nominate Molly to the Governance Advisory Committee. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, we'll do a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. And that passes. And
Great.
Molly recused.
Got it.
Her vote,
Yeah.
Okay, so we're lined up. Mr. Delgado, Mr. Sun on the Finance and Audit Committee, Ms. Chang, and Brett on the Governance Advisory Committee for this school year. Okay, next, approve the acceptance of donation from Larry and Helen Hoke Foundation. The Larry and Helen Hoke Foundation generously donated $75,000 to be used for a technology refresh to benefit IIA students. The tech refresh includes the purchase of student Chromebooks, staff computers, and laptops, as well as an electronic messaging system to improve communication in the IIA community. IIA thanks the foundation for their ongoing support of our IIA students and will ensure that their donation is used to fund initiatives that have a positive impact on our school and students. LCAP goal action, goal 1, action 7. Funding source,
That's not
this is
good.
from the foundation.
Yeah.
The budget financial impact, increased revenue of $75,000 not reflected in the 2025-26 budgets. Recommended the board of directors approve action item E. I will recuse myself from the vote. Is there a motion to accept, or are there any questions or comments, anything anyone wants to make?
I want to thank Larry and Helen Hogue Foundation for their generous donation. With that, I'd like to make a motion that we accept their donation.
Second.
Thank you, Felipe, thank you, Molly. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. Hearing none, it passes. Okay, moving on to the executive director's report.
So I would like to thank, I'm going to start by acknowledging our donation, how thrilled we are coming up with the theme of how we could best support our students with the tech refresh. To give details, this money will help to fund 110 student Chromebooks, 10 Chromebook carts, 8 teacher laptops, and 2 computer workstations, as well as a digital marquee for our site for better communication and branding, as well as computer software to help our Z computers that were donated years past and make sure that they're running and being able to be utilized by students. So we are thrilled. Again, I want to thank the Larry and Helen Hogue Foundation for this generous donation. I also want to thank, if you remember at the last board meeting, I thanked Judy Chen and family, 4th grade student Ezekiel Chen, 7th grade student Jebediah Chen. They had made a $2,000 donation for field trips. Well, they've been so happy and that they decided to donate another $3,500 to cover field trips in those grade levels. So again, thank you to the generosity of the Chen family. We really do appreciate that. And of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge our Mid-Autumn Festival. The feedback has been outstanding. This was my first one, and I think we set the bar really high. I heard it was wonderful. We had such a great turnout. We did have some dignitaries there, and a comment that was made to me from the chief of staff from OCDE was that he goes to a lot of these events, and he said, but this is very special. You look around and people are happy and smiling, and children are happy, and families are happy and engaging, and it was such a high after being there. It made me so proud to be part of this wonderful community. So again, thank you. It really was special. I've now been to 2 IIA big events, one at the end of the school year last year in May We Dance, and then now the Mid-Autumn Festival, and they just keep getting better, and we sure do know how to throw an event. So I've been extremely impressed and very proud. I wanted to give an update on the Q1 community survey. So we did talk about really reaching out to our families and giving a community survey. So so far I have 74 responses, which is higher than we had at the LCAP last year. So very, very high level of response. I've been reading them as they come in. My plan is to do a presentation of the results at the next board meeting, but I'm also going to present the results at the Coffee with the Principal to the families, an overview. Great feedback, and a lot of the recommendations for improvement are very well acknowledged, and I think things that we can act upon. A lot of validation of the hard work that's been happening. So I do want to thank our families for your feedback, and I look forward to sharing the results as this survey closes. I do also want to acknowledge our families and thank you for the response to the intent to return forms, because we received most of them back. There are very few that we're still following up with. And so thank you to the community, because this is really important as we work with Irvine Unified School District to maintain our facility use. And so far so good. We will be submitting our proposal for our facilities in the end of October. So thank you again for the intent to return forms. I'm pretty pleased with the way this is going, and that's all I have to report right now.
Thank you. Moving on to the director's reports.
I was just thinking about right now, this is October, and so we're in school for 2 months, and we already have so many good news, what's going on, and so I look forward to see all the way till June, and there's a lot more activity and the event coming up. So I want to thank Principal, all the things he reported. There's so many details and in and out stuff that he interacted with teachers and students, and thank you for the hard work. And also PTO. This time I didn't get a chance to attend the festival, but I know our PTO is always on top of everything and care for the staff and care for teachers and children. Thank you for all the staff, that your hard work. We also heard a lot of new clubs and happening in the after school, and I feel like that's kind of like when we discussed. We used to give it to someone else to handle, but now we are managing it together. So I want to especially thank Mr. Gio. I know he put in a lot of effort into it. And Dr. Henry, thank you for your thorough, very detailed, informative information about the school, all the business about the school, especially on the testing. With such a great result, with 100 more students coming in and not really know about, a lot of them came from other countries, but still we are still up there. So thanks to the teachers, you work so hard, and I look forward to another wonderful result for this year. Thank you.
The only thing I would add, I mean, it was just a great, is that Tiffany, the work she did, the assistant principal, right? That she did in organizing the kids and having their program, and that whole portion of that event where we exemplify our Chinese language skills and stuff. That was a big hit, It's always amazing to see the parents when their kid gets up there on the stage. They just rush and huddle to the front, and everybody pulls out their cameras, and they're so proud of at that moment. That's why they come. That's why they feel that sense of community. Because we do allow them that opportunity to be proud of their students, and they should be. Because they're a big part of why the school is where it's at. So I also want to mention Tiffany, and again, Mario, fantastic job. So yeah, looking forward to the next month. Yeah, I think it's kind of refreshing. I don't know, I'll remind you, last year, we're always looking for February, March financials, because that's when we're having our cash flow come in, right? And I don't think we have that same apprehension that we've had in the past. So that's great, that we're on target with our budget. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Yeah, so many wonderful things happening here, and Dr. Habib, you're doing an excellent job, so thank you very much. I also wanted to mention, the little things that make these meetings go very well, and we appreciate the printouts, the Chromebooks. I noticed this time we had tabs open for
That was
each
all Mason.
of the presentations, so excellent work, thank you. We've got our names up here. It's fantastic. So
it's starting to feel like a real school.
it's excellent. And it's really wonderful. Thank you to everyone that's there. And I still drop my kids off in the morning and walk them, and I just notice the staff out there. You can feel the presence. You see the smiles. They're folks that are dependable, they're reliable, they make this place that much more enjoyable to come, and we very much know who they are. So, thank you. When you have your cabinet meetings and your staff meetings, please let them know that they're recognized, we see them.
I definitely will. I'm not sure if my mic is working, but it's a wonderful team. I mean, I couldn't have been more blessed to be working with a better team. So all the skills, everything comes together. Definitely, I'll share that with them.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to the adjournments. Recommended the board adjourn the regular meeting of the Irvine International Academy Board of Directors on October 14, 2025. Is there a motion?
I'll motion so.
Thank you, Felipe. Is there a second? Thank you, Molly. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Can you, do that one again. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. Hearing none, it passes. Okay, and meeting adjourned. Where are we at? Let's see the clock here.
8:54.
8:54. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.